live, and then we'll be regular live.
Well, we're live now on Facebook,
Okay.
YouTube, and Twitch currently.
All right, Twitch.
And then once you do your little sharing there,
Yep.
Grandpa.
Yep, the old
We'll
man
get
takes the
to-
longest. The old man takes the longest.
Twitch, is that the new thing?
Yeah.
It's like a gaming thing, but they have other stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Is Darryl on it? Because I'm looking at it right now, and he's not on it.
He's not on what?
Look.
He is on mine.
Isn't that weird? Right here, I'm looking at it.
Well, you got that bootleg phone.
Exactly. Yeah,
Dude,
you gotta
in
get
Mexico, our switch just goes backwards, bro.
You got the tangerine iPhone.
Oh, no, now he's on it now.
You need the Apple iPhone.
You need the Apple iPhone.
It's Apple.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is, man.
Oh gosh.
That's funny. All right, I'm almost done. All right.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. How come we're all like relatively close to the same age, but you and I are the only ones with gray?
Yeah.
Well, I go gray. I just don't let it grow.
Is that the black don't crack thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't let it grow. I just don't let my hair grow. It'll grow. If it comes in, it's gonna be all gray.
I like how Trinity says he's close to our age. When Trinity, you are so not close to our age.
Well, what are you 50? What are you 50?
Dude,
what now?
You're 10 years younger than me, and I'm like 8 years younger than Darryl. I think, right?
Dude, 10 is close.
7 years younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 years is close.
Okay.
I didn't say next to you.
Tell that to the cops.
You said close.
Yeah, tell that to cops when you're 20 years old. How old is the girl? Exactly. All right, let's go. Let's do the show, man. Let's do the show. Let's run it.
All right, let's do it.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom. Hello, everybody. This is Dope and Dharma. I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you. And this is the Couch Live edition of Dope and Dharma, which we do each and every Monday right here on WOKB 1680 AM in the Orlando area and 100.7 FM, again, here in the Orlando area. And been doing the Couch Live for now, 24 is our 24th year on radio doing this show, helping you with family issues, substance use disorder issues, and all things in between. And, of course, my partner is the Dharma guy, Trinity Phillips. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, actually.
You're good. I heard
it's always a good day when Darryl visits. So,
all right. Well, you're going to be taking a long trip. This is the best part of your day, Trinity, because the rest of the day today, I know your schedule. Your schedule. The rest of your day today, you're going to be on I-4 to Tampa, and then Tampa back to Orlando. And that 20-hour journey, which usually can be 3 hours, is going to be 20 hours today. So
yeah,
good luck.
Traffic is going to be horrible, but it's okay.
All right.
It is what it is. It's for a good cause, man. So.
Why don't you tell everybody how they can hear us, listen to us, follow us, and all that stuff before we introduce our guest?
Yeah, as always on Monday nights, you can catch us on 100.7 FM, 1680 AM on WOKB Radio. Or if you want to watch and participate and give us your comments, you can do so on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch Live under Dope and Dharma. And if you want to take us on the go and listen to us at your leisure, you can do so on any of your major podcasting platforms under Dope and Dharma.
That's right. Yeah, some people are already joining us now. We see Marissa from New York. She's already joining us. Look at that, Darryl. Look at that. Hi to my favorite guys. See you next week. Darryl is coming, right? Yes, Darryl will be there at the golf tournament. Absolutely. Anyway, let's introduce our guest, Darryl Strawberry. You know him as D-Straw. He's the man. Although, look, I tell him all the time, I got to admit this. Look, I'm a Phillies fan and Pirates #2. So, as you can imagine, this Phillies killer that he was not my favorite person growing up. He just wasn't. But now he's a beautiful man, beautiful human being. And Darryl Strawberry, the world famous Darryl Strawberry, four-time World Series champion Darryl Strawberry. Right there, brother?
What's up, guys? Good to be with you guys, man. Can't wait to get with you guys and play a little golf and have a little fun. Have a lot of laughs. You know, we have a lot of laughs when we get together. So, which is real cool.
Now, you said you hadn't been golfing lately. What's been
I
going
hadn't been
on?
golfing, man. I had trigger finger and I had surgery on my finger. So I was kind of out of.
So that's what they call that, trigger finger?
That's trigger finger. Well, it's trigger finger. My finger was down like this, stuck down every morning. I wake up like this.
Wow.
So what had to happen is I had to go in and I had to have surgery. And once they did the surgery, I kind of released that. And now I'm in the place of they call rehabilitation, rehabbing your finger. You know, I don't.
Right. So just so everybody knows, he not the Ja Morant type of trigger finger, but the actual
not that. Yeah,
not that
trigger finger.
It ain't that kind of trigger finger now. But that's unfortunate, man. So how does it feel now? Like you can't really move it completely.
I mean, I can move it better now. You know what happened is when I wake up in the morning, it's still stiff. You know, so I got a long way to go. You know, when you get older and you start having injuries, it takes a long time to recover.
Yeah. By the way, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. 61,
You just had a 61st birthday.
61st birthday. So, you know, knock on wood, I thank God for it, you know, alive and well,
it's a beautiful thing.
Sober, you know, living the real life, you know, and helping the multitude of people. You know, this is what life is really all about. When you get to experience what we have in life, you come back and you give it back to somebody else.
That's right. What were you going to say, Trinity?
I don't think I've asked him all these years before we get started. Do you still swing a bat at all? Like, do you ever, for good old time's sake, go out there and take a couple shots or anything? No, not at all.
Why would I waste my time? That's a fantasy. I even went to old timers. Yeah, but I even went to old timers and everybody was trying to get me to swing a bat. I was like, there's no way I will be paying the price physically if I got out there and tried to swing a bat and run the bases, and that's not going to happen.
He is not going to let us see that. He is not. He's not. You got to. I think the deal is when you're that good, there's no way you want to ever not have anyone remember that. Like, because we've all seen that swing. That was a beautiful swing. Matter of fact, if you watch him golf, because them low balls, pitchers thought they can get that sinker or slider down below him, and he would like get it off the carpet. Like he was like you could not sink the ball low enough for Darryl.
No, that was one of my favorite. You know, that was one of my favorite pitches to hit. You know, down and in.
Yeah,
I throw that ball down and in. I remember Nolan Ryan threw me one down and in, and I just golfed it right down the line for fair ball. Stayed in the line. Stayed on. Right on the line. So that down and in pitch is a good pitch for a left-hand hitter.
Yeah, I've seen you do it many times, Darryl. Like I said, I did not really like it very much.
It was Philly, down in Philly, and down in Pittsburgh, of course, against the Pirates. You know, they served up a lot of golf balls. You know.
Yeah, those are supposed to be strikeout pitchers. For those of you that don't know baseball, that's supposed to be a strikeout pitch. You know, give you some fastball so that you get used to speed, and then slow it down with a sinker down low or whatever.
Well, that's what they say.
That's what it was a suggestion.
Awesome. I don't know about it if it's a strikeout. Well, they'll get you sometime, but majority of the time that pitch down there would be a great pitch to swing at and hit.
Yeah,
because it's right in your hands. You just take your hands through, and you just drop the head on and you deliver.
Yeah, you were so good, and you had one of the most beautiful swings I've ever seen. That's a fact, and even that I admired back then. You were still one of my favorite players back then, even though I didn't like what team you're on. But I always, you know, I had your baseball cards. There was for a reason. You know what I mean?
You just didn't know. I
didn't know how close we were going to be. No, I didn't.
Exactly right. That's so true.
So let's talk a little bit about that. All right. So what were the years that you played? First of all,
I played in the 80s. 83 was my first year, and I played all the way to 99. And you know, played a lot of good years in the 80s over in Queens. You know, for the Mets. Of course, we drove down the turnpike a lot down to Philly and jumped on the plane going over to Pittsburgh to beat on the Pirates and beat on the Phillies. You know?
You're gonna keep doing that.
I always tell people that when I'm speaking down in those areas, Pennsylvania and Philly. You know, I said, I know you guys don't like me. I'm here. I know I used to beat up on your Phillies and your Pirates. You know,
it's so true. It's so true.
They get a big laugh at it. So you know, when I go to different places, I always remind them. You know, I was a Cardinal killer. You know, I live in St. Louis. I always tell them I was a Cardinal killer. You know, so. But, you know, I had fun. Playing Major League Baseball. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun back in the 80s. The 80s were different. And, you know, it was a wild time, and we enjoyed ourselves, not only on the field, but off the field. Maybe a little too much off the field, but that's life. You know, when you growing up, you don't ever think it's going to end. You know, and I think a lot of us don't ever think, you know, life like it is going to end. You're having so much fun, you know, but everything comes to an end. And there comes a time where baseball is going to be over. And then who are you? What's the next step in your life? You know, and I think a lot of guys never could cross over and take that uniform off. I was just a guy that had that uniform on for so long, and I had my identity in that when I played baseball. But once I stepped off and realized that I had to change life and change the course of life, then I realized that I had to step into a new calling and to be different, to be able to go back and help so many other people.
That's what I kind of want to get into, like, because, there's not a lot of conversation that I know of, at least, especially back then, in relation to life after sport, right? So I don't know if agents talk about that with their athletes. Did you have the same agent throughout, or did you have a high profile agent right from the beginning, or how did that work out?
Yeah, I had a high profile agent from the beginning. Most of the time, agents are not going to talk about life after baseball, because who knows what life is supposed to be, besides putting on a uniform. At the time, you're putting on the uniform and you're playing for, a great city, and the expectations from that city is you to play well and do well.
Yeah.
And that's what it was for us in the 80s. You think about it. When I got there in 83, we were a terrible team. We were a last place team. Then 84, Davey Johnson comes in to be the manager. He takes over. Doc Gooden comes in. He's 19 years old, phenom pitcher. And we got Hernandez. And then 85, we get Carter. So the team started to change into something totally different, and the expectations was a lot bigger, when you put those kind of players on the field.
Right.
And there it was, trying to live up to those expectations. We fell short. I tell people all the time, 1985 was a great year for the New York Mets. We won 98 games, but we lost the division to the Cardinals. There was no wild card. There was no three-team playoff, that you get in. You win 98 ball games, you going home. You got to win you got to win the division. And we didn't that year, and the Cardinals did. So that just tells you how different baseball is from then and now. You can get three teams coming out of the same division. Last year, the Mets and the Braves and Philly came out of the East, and Philly goes to the World Series. So it just shows you anything can happen. It was a long time for them, right?
Yeah, last year was a beautiful year.
But they made it, and then they go on to improve their team even better coming into this season. So baseball's a game of opportunities now, and you got a chance to win. So across the board, all you have to do is put a good team on the field. I think in those years of the 80s, we put great teams on the field, and we had great competition in the National League East back in those days too.
Right. My original desire when I got involved in psychology, when I went to school and studied to be, a counselor and therapist and all that stuff, my original desire was sports psychology for baseball. At that time in those 80s, coming into the 90s, there were just several Latino players that were coming in and becoming something. And so I knew that when you get a lot of money and fame and you come from poverty, these guys were going to, I thought, get into some trouble if they didn't have some guidance. So that was one of my original intent, is to work with Major League Baseball and work with athletes that didn't come from a lot and then needed to know how to transition to the American lifestyle with money. That was my original intent.
Well, there's no schools for that.
No.
You think about the 80s. There was no places set up for that. To be able to educate young athletes about those type of things. I think now you have more education about it, and I think guys are more careful about who they are because of the difference of the times we're living in. We live in a social media driven time. So when you think about it, you don't want to be caught up in anything. You don't want nobody to be videoing you or filming you at places where you're not supposed to be. So we didn't have that in the 80s. We didn't have to worry about that. So
can you imagine?
Plus, now you have the name, image, and likeness getting paid now in college too. So.
Yeah. Everybody's such a brand. Back in the days, everybody wasn't a brand. It was only the star players that was a brand. And they were branded by the team. But now players have branded themselves. With their own social media platforms, and that's how they get the recognition of who they are and everything. And so it's a business more than anything now, and it's an opportunity for them to be successful. But at the same time, I can tell you this: no matter what time it is from the 80s to these years, you're still going to find athletes that still gonna push the envelope, and take the chance of doing something crazy, and something crazy will happen. They will do something crazy, and they will pay a price for it, because they do have social media and they have every outlet that see what they do.
Trinity and I just did a show not too long ago based on, when athletes get in trouble and stars get in trouble and people, there's a lot of people that are like, well, if I was in that situation, I had all that money, I would never do something so stupid and stuff like that. And we try to, I guess, talk about it to educate people that, they're still just people, man. Just
That's
people. And the difference is you have a lot of hangers on and there's a lot of cameras. Everybody has a camera. Can you imagine if they had a camera, Darryl, at some of the festivities that you enjoyed back then?
Well, you get in trouble. You get in trouble when you're not even famous, So it's everybody. Everybody gets into a place where they have done something stupid, and it's just the way it is. We live with it. You learn to live with it, and you move on from it. We're gonna make mistakes. This life is full of mistakes, and everybody. No one's gonna come here and be perfect. If someone tell you they're perfect, you need to take off running.
Well, not only that, but it's easy for the dude who's working as a cashier at Walmart to talk about his not doing certain things. You don't have the options that somebody does who's walking around with millions in the bank and famous. Their options are a little bit more extravagant than your options.
You make a good point there, Trinity, because that's so real in today's society, and the average person who is struggling too may become totally opposite of what an athlete or someone in an entertainment business could be able to do, because they know they can fix their situation, because they're going home, they got to communicate. But you talk about an average person, they don't think that way. They usually commit suicide, or they commit a crime, a hate crime or something like that, going into a place because they're frustrated with life and everything because of the challenges that are so different. And they have the same struggle as a person who is famous, but you can go behind your gate and you can go call a doctor to help you work through some things. And the average person really don't have that. So, society is really different than it's ever been now, and the challenges are so more real for people who are struggling, just an average person. Because like I said, you find an athlete, he does something stupid, they're going to slap a penalty on him. He's going to get a fine, he's going to be suspended or something like that, but he'll be back to work.
Right. Now, I was joking about the Ja Morant thing earlier and stuff like that. There's you see the comments that people make on that. Some people are not as forgiving as others, and some people say a lot of things. But at the end of the day,
he's just a kid.
He's very much a kid. What is he, like 21? How old is he?
Young.
Yeah, he's like early 20. And then I think back, Darryl, to how young you were. You were an all-star from high school. You know what I mean? Were you ever not supposed to be great? When you first started playing baseball, were you not already the biggest, baddest kid on the field?
I was it. They made me that kid
from day one, right?
From day one. And you kind of had to wear that. You're going to be the next this and next that. And what if you didn't live up to your own expectations, not other people's expectations? Right. I think a lot of times people don't understand. Great athletes live up to their own expectations, because what great athletes do is they're working hard while everybody else is sleeping and still under the covers and don't want to come out of bed. Athletes are up early in the morning. They're going to get it. The great ones. The average ones won't do that, but most of the guys that won't know that they have this ability to play and they want to make something out of it and they want to be great at what they're doing, they're going to be out there working. That's
I think we just lost him. His phone's probably ringing. That's my best guess, because he's on his phone, I believe. So
that's right.
But no,
when my phone does that, I have to re-call in. You might have to do that if you can. He's back. He's back.
I'm back. Yeah.
We lost that end part. Can you repeat that last part?
I was saying that's why a guy like Kobe Bryant was so good, because while everybody else was, sleeping, he was out shooting extra buckets, over and over and over to become the best, to become the clutch, become like Jordan was. He wasn't one of those guys saying, well, I got this talent. A lot of guys have talent, but can you take yourself to that next level? And I always knew that when I was growing up as a young athlete. I knew I had this ability to play sports, so I wanted to be the best at it. So I had to make myself the best at what I was doing.
Right. Trinity, you had a question?
No, I was just listening.
Oh, I thought when he went away, I thought you started to say something, so I thought maybe it was a question or something. Well, again, I think, what interested me was the the after play or the not play, because I do get concerned because I'm one of those guys that get real excited when I see somebody live out their dreams. Like when I watch you in a World Series and then win it, when you're excited, I get excited for you because I think about it as a little kid, in your room, you're playing around like you're hitting in the ninth, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and then you hit a grand slam. Like every little kid that's ever played baseball imagines a scenario like that. Every kid that's ever played football imagines a scenario where they win in overtime or something like that. And so I get excited for you. And then I always think though, like how can I support you when it's over and the lights are off? Because our good friend Lesky said it best one time. Curtis Laskanik won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox in 2004. You met him at our golf tournament as well, and he's always there at our golf tournament. But he said it best. He goes, "I'd be a star out there. I'd go out there on the road, and I'm somebody. And then I come home, and my wife is like, take out the trash. It's like you're like a regular Joe, and like and I always think that's got to be difficult. Like that's a difficult transition. And then so when the career's over, not everybody's a Darryl Strawberry. So the Darryl Strawberries of the world, the Michael Jordans of the world. I mean, we're talking about the elite, the A-list players, but there's a lot of B, C, D-list players, right? And so there's a lot of guys that struggle with a lot of habits from the road. Let's call some of these habits, because not everything is addiction. There's some people just have bad habits that they've developed on the road, and I'm still noticing that because I've still worked with some Major League Baseball players that are still either active or no longer can be active. And there's a lot of habits that I hear about on the road that are still happening today that I'm like, man, haven't we learned? I mean, haven't we learned enough to help protect some of these young guys that don't know where that may lead?
Well, I think the best teacher is learning from your own mistakes, because we all gonna make mistakes and we all gonna fall short. If we try to make this life as is going to be perfect, then we're in trouble. And we try to pretend like we're going to live this perfect life and we have no flaws. Then we're lying to ourselves. So I think a lot of guys that don't learn from their mistakes, they just continue to make the same mistakes and continue to do the same things and continue to be the same person. You have to really be disciplined to play baseball or to play any sport. But then you also have to make that transition to be very disciplined when you move on in life. And if you're not disciplined, you still think, well, I'm still thinking that I'm wearing the uniform. Darryl Strawberry don't wear the uniform anymore. A lot of players still wear the uniform and they haven't hung the uniform up. That guy is over. He's no longer there. Yeah, you used to be, and that was part of what you used to do. But who are you today? How do you move forward in life? What do you become in life? How do you take on from the mistakes you made and the challenges that you had in life? Now, how do you take those mistakes and correct them and become better at what you do to help somebody else? And a lot of players don't do that. They don't realize that they can, but they have to be sincere to themselves and say that, I had some shortcomings and I can't no longer live like this, and not allow myself to be in the uniform and to be the person that I am today. And your life can be good. I mean, there's opportunities. There's always going to be opportunities out there for you. Someone that has been successful. It doesn't mean you have to be an A player. If you was a B, C player, you still have opportunities in life to give back. But you have to come from off of the road. You can't still be that same player. You're still sitting there and you're still at the point when we're drinking and partying. You're still drinking and partying, talking about if I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Well, that's not going to work. You're going to have to change something about yourself. And I think that was the difference in me, is realizing that I needed to change. I needed to change the behavior of who I was.
So real quick, how hard is that, right? Like, does anything outside of the sports arena come close to that feeling? Because I got to imagine it's got to be an amazing feeling, dude, to go and slog through the season, beat all the other teams, and at the end, you're looking around at 100,000 fans, they're cheering, and you just won the world. Like, you're it. That's it. You've reached the top. Does anything in life come even close to that, realistically speaking? I mean, how hard is that to like?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to let go of, but if you don't let go of it, you're going to lose everything that you love. And that's just the reality of it. Sports is a game, and it's a game to be played, and somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to have more success than the next person, but you cannot identify yourself as someone else. You have to be able to identify yourself as who you are. I look at me and I thank God for it that I was very successful at what I did. So once I realized that I needed to step into a new life, I allowed myself to really come back to what life is all about. What is life all about at the end of the day? It's about your faith, it's about family, and it's about your kids. It's not about everything else. If you continue to, run after everything else, you're gonna miss the most important thing. I didn't want to miss out anymore. I missed out on enough when I was playing Major League Baseball all those years. I missed out what it is to be a good husband, family, and raising your kids. I stepped into life and I didn't want to miss out on that important part of life. And I think so many guys will miss out on really what's important, and they'll lose their family behind sports. That's just the way it is.
Right.
I say it all the time. Guys will lose. I spoke yesterday, yesterday or so in an event, and I was talking about the fact that out of 100% from people that play professional sports and in the entertainment business, 95% of the male will lose his family because he doesn't know how to walk away. He does not know how to walk away from it. So there's a 5% that will stay together with their family, but 95% will lose their family. And when you lose your family, then you lose a lot inside of yourself.
That's a good transition right there, because I just saw that I think your daughter just got engaged, right? One of your daughters just got engaged. That's a beautiful thing. Can you imagine, Trinity, that you get engaged with this female and all of a sudden you get to meet her dad and it's Darryl?
No,
it's like
it'd be horrible. How do you live up to that?
I mean,
it's not about living up to it. I'm just her dad. That's important.
Yeah.
See, I took it a different direction. I was looking at it like, all right, if I have a son and he just can't even run, I'm gonna feel really weird. I'm like, what happened to my genetics? That son better be able to swing a bat. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So no, but I want to go to all right. So Cristiano Ronaldo. One of the things that seems to frustrate him a lot, and we all know he's a great soccer player. I don't know how he is as a person, but he's a great soccer player, right? He's an entertaining person, and he gets frustrated that the young people on his team don't ask him questions like mentorship. They don't come to him for mentorship. They don't try to use his veteran status to benefit them at all. He feels like this new generation of athlete feels like they already got it, they already know it, and there's nothing that the older people can provide. So the question to you is, when you go around, because I saw you in a uniform the other day. I thought you were going to bat that day. I saw you in a Mets uniform the other day. You were at spring training. You were at spring training though in a new uniform. You still look good in a damn uniform. I don't know how you still look good in a uniform, by the way, but you do. So do younger players tend to come to you and ask you for any kind of feedback or advice, knowing that you've gone through a lot in this sport, that you've been around a long time, you get it, you know it? Do they ask you?
Not really. I mean, it's a different time. It's a different generation.
It really is. It's so weird.
They live through social media. They live through internet. They live through ideas from there. They rather figure out the ideas from there. Or what's what. I don't think it's no disrespect, for them, and they don't have this. Yeah, they don't have any disrespect against a player that's been successful. Right. They respect you. They know you have done this, and I think it's just their time, And I think some of the older guys, you have to realize that you have to get out of the way, and I think that's why I'm not around baseball. But if you're around the sport, whatever it may be, soccer, football, you feel like they should come to you, but that's not going to happen. Like I said, they have so many different other outlets, to go and study, video, this and that, and all different type of things that we didn't have about themselves. So, it is what it is, and you have to learn as a guy that's been celebrated, and you celebrated championships, and understand winning is hard, and it's not easy, and it's just a window of time. You would think young players would ask you about that, but some of the young players in spring training was asking me, what was it like, and how did you guys know and get to the next level? I thought that was pretty cool. I sat down and talked with Peter Alonso a little bit, and he was asking me questions about that. What was it like from 85 and going into 86, and how did you guys just know you were going to win? We just knew that we were a different team from day one of spring training, because we all were there and we rallied together, and and the manager said we're gonna win it all. And we just kind of looked around, thought to ourselves, yeah, this is our year to win it all, because we came short. We came up short 2 years in a row, 84 and 85, and we knew going into 86 that we had a good enough team to win. We knew that we was not gonna let anybody put their foot on our neck anymore. We was gonna make sure that we hammered it home against those teams that had put their foot on our neck the previous years.
Right. Yeah. See, I don't know if we think that way, Darryl, because we're now the older people, and maybe it was always like that. Maybe we did the same thing. Maybe we didn't look at older people. Maybe we didn't ask the generation before us any questions or something like that. Maybe we just did the same thing. Maybe we're just viewing this like this because we're the older ones now, and we realize, man, young people feel like they have it all. But I've heard that from various athletes, and when I heard Ronaldo say it, I was like, man, if I'd play on a team with like Ronaldo now, I mean, with all he's done, and you don't, grab something from the guy, I just find that hard to believe.
Well, I know it's hard to believe, but you know what they do is they actually pay attention to the guys that they played against more than anything. They see the guys that are just on their way out of the game that have been very successful, and that's the standard that they look at. I think growing up, the standard we had, when I was growing up, you wanted to be like Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle. He was a player, and he was a real baseball player. You saw the way he played the game. He hustled and played the game. But after his time gone, you got there, you became that, and you looked among the players that you played with. Then I looked among the younger players that were coming after me. I looked at Barry Bonds when I saw him at a young age. I saw him coming, and I knew he was going to be like the next because you could see it. You could see it at the age of 23, 24 years old that he had the ability to do all kind of things on the baseball field. So you recognize that, and players recognize that, and players recognize the history, of guys like myself, going to the match camp. I'm quite sure a lot of the young players don't know who I am, but when they walk around the clubhouse, and you can still see pictures of me that's up there. So that just shows the history of this organization. You played a big part of this organization, so they know from that standpoint, but they don't know from the playing standpoint because they never saw it.
Now you brought a big name up there when you said Pete Rose. I was going to ask you were there any players that you had crossed paths with that you wish that you could have maybe talked to a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I talked to guys like Mike Schmidt. I remember him pulling me over.
That's one of my favorites right there, brother. You mentioned Schmidt.
Smitty, I remember him pulling me over in the dugout at Shea one day, and when it was, we're taking BP, and he was just talking to me and telling me, you got a chance to be one of the most exciting young players and home run hitters in baseball that he's seen in a very long time. So that was really cool. But he said, I know it's very difficult playing here in New York. He goes, I played in Philly for a long time, and it was very difficult to play there. And you just got to really stay focused, because I know it's hard with all the distractions that's around you in big cities.
Right. That's awesome. So in talking about people like Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, the Hall of Fame is one of the most, in baseball, to me, seems to be one of the most elusive things in any other, compared to other sports. It's like if you miss that opportunity to go in the Hall of Fame, it's like, is it so? What is it like if you don't get in the Hall of Fame when you're up? And you don't get a certain amount of votes, you never can be up for Hall of Fame again? Is that the rule?
That's the rule. It's overdone.
So
it's done for guys like Bonds and Clemens. They went to the committee and they didn't vote them in, and they could never get in.
It's so dumb.
That is I don't get it. I just don't understand that rule, because I think that even happened to Johnny Damon as well, right? Johnny Damon didn't get the percentage of votes, so he'll never be able to get in. I mean, and I'm just looking at some of these players and going like, how can you never ever be up for Hall of Fame? Again, I just don't get it.
Well, they just have a certain way of doing things, in Major League Baseball, and different writers come from different times. Writers from the old days voted a lot of the other players in, and then you have this new generation of writers who look at the history of what players, the time of players playing and what happened. The steroids were big at that time, and a lot of people hold that over a lot of players' heads.
Right.
That bothers me though. It bothers me only because steroids or not, you still have to have the talent and the skill and the work ethic. You can't just take steroids and sit at home on the couch. Like, it doesn't work that way. And then the other thing that bothers me is, admittedly, like self-admittedly, many players going all the way back to Babe's days were using other substances. Like,
well, of
so
course.
this concept that prior to steroids, everybody was
Picking
pristine
one
is
substance.
just not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just,
Well,
I don't know, let them in.
They act like everybody that's played baseball has done something.
Something.
Yeah, you took greenies and you took amphetamines. You've done something. You drank
Right.
juice.
Right.
They've all done something because it was a different time of doing what was there. Drugs has always been a part of sports and always will be. You still see players today get suspended. Because they can't stay away from it.
Well, they sure don't test them for marijuana. They don't.
Well, since we're on the subject, just real quick, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you think that they've essentially ignored everything else and focused so heavily on steroids?
I just think because of the timing of it and what was happening, home runs, were big, the numbers were big, and it was, come on, when you're hitting 78, I mean, I led the league in 1988 with 39 home runs hitting natural. Okay. Now you think of all the other fly balls that I hit had I been on steroids and leading the league at 39, you think of all the 40 fly balls that I hit would have been out of the ballpark, the extra 40. So you can add to that, and that's how that number gets big, because a lot of routine fly balls are fly balls that just really keep going and carrying because you're so strong. You're a lot stronger. It played a big part of, a lot of guys, that weren't home run hitters. I'm not talking about the guys that were legitimate home run hitters. I'm talking about the guys that was not home run hitters, dropping 50. Come on, the center fielder hit 13 before 1 year. And in Baltimore, next year he hits 50. So that's a big number. That's a big jump.
And Trinity, you got to put yourself in the 80s a little bit when it all happened. At the end of the 80s, you're talking about, it wasn't just Mark McGwire. If it was just Mark McGwire, that'd be different. But it was Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa. When you had multiple players hitting, baseball is very traditional, very historical.
The pitchers were on it too, though.
But I know, but one of the biggest problems is it started beating records of people they look at as iconic.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to touch some of these iconic people. You can never.
Come on. Right, 60 home runs is 60. That's a lot of home runs.
Yeah, you're not
for a guy that never, really actually hit 30 consistently.
Right.
Barry Bonds was natural. He was a natural home run hitter.
Yeah.
Mark McGwire was a natural home run hitter when he started off. I mean, he hit 49 in his rookie year. You think about it, he was on his way to being a natural home run hitter.
Right.
But you get caught up.
You get caught up. You get caught up, man. I mean, look, Canseco was just good no matter what. I mean, look. I still like him. I mean, he may have opened his mouth and said some things, but I mean,
he was an outstanding ball player. I don't care what anybody say about him.
Yep.
He was an outstanding home run hitter, base stealer. He was an outstanding ball player.
30 for 30 guy.
You can't take that away from him. And that's what people don't understand. I think he was the first 40-40 guy.
That's right. I think he did 40-40. You're right. And that's a big deal when you can steal bases and hit home runs.
Most people don't know that. They don't have a clue. The players, they don't even know that. They think, well, I'm just a natural home run hitter. But you had guys in our days where we were going 30 for 30. And no players do that today. So you hardly even see that in the game anymore. So nobody runs. So
I hear stolen bases. I can't help it. I think Ricky Henderson. Like that's the
that's a bad man.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Ricky
somebody
was the greatest.
Yeah, Ricky was faster. Oh my God, bro. Yeah, see, he played American League, and I like the Texas Rangers because they had the Latinos, right? They had Pudge, they had Rodriguez, they had Gonzalez, they had Gonzalez, they had Canseco. So the Rangers were my team on the American League like that. And boy, Ricky Henderson was just
unbelievable.
He dead fast. Crazy fast. But going back to some of this. All right, so now baseball's over. We know you. I know you very differently. We've worked together trying to save lives and working to save lives. In the reason we're talking today, we got a golf tournament coming up April 3rd where you continuously, even though you don't live here in Orlando anymore, dude, I can't even tell you how blessed I feel that you still come back to Orlando to come to this golf tournament with us and for us every year. That means the world to me. I mean, I can't even explain to you how grateful I am to you that when you told me when you were leaving, because I said, I can't believe you're moving. You go, I'll be back. And I was like, oh, we'll see. But you have.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the Darryl after. baseball, because in a time where look, you're not a B or C list baseball player. And for those of you that are listening right now and you don't know, you should, because this is an A-lister. And for an A-lister not to be making money like talking on ESPN, or not being, calling sports somewhere else, or not doing some other thing within baseball. Like you said, you're not doing things within baseball.
Right.
Instead, you go speak at churches, you do public speaking, you write books, you're out there, promoting the vision and the word of God as you understand God. And so that to me is tremendously honorable. The fact that you do what you feel is the right thing for you to do, rather than chasing the easy money.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I just have a higher calling on my life, and I think it had to do more than just, playing baseball and being in being in the booth and talking about sports, and being on, TV shows and talking about sports, like the ESPN talk shows and stuff like that. Yeah, I got a great knowledge about all that, but I just think my calling was higher. My calling was about people. Sports is just a game. People get on television to talk about people and talk about how good they are and how bad they are, or whatever they are. But when you look at people and you think of the importance of lives of people, that's important, at the end of the day, no matter what they've been through. And we must never forget about that, and that's why we do what we do. That's why I'm here, because you guys do the same thing. You see people, you see hurting people, you see people struggling. I come from addiction, so I know what addiction is. I know the struggle. I know it's life or death. It's no in between. You're either going to live or you're going to die. Or either you're going to get well, you're going to get sober, and you're going to live a sober life, and you're going to go back and pay it back, to be able to help somebody else get what you got. I mean, we didn't freely get it. We had to work for it, and we have to teach people how to work for this. And when they work for it, they appreciate it more. They appreciate being on the other side of life. But when they're in the midst of it, it's a struggle. It's a real battle, and for the grace of God, there go I. Every person that OD and died, for the grace of God, there go I. So I must never forget that, because there go I that could have been me. But since it was not me, that means we need to go back and try to help as many as we can, and show them that recovery is possible. You can live a life without any drinking and drugging. You don't have to pick up. As long as you don't pick up, there's a new day that's coming, and we have to be able to show people that.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people right now listening on WOKB 1680 AM radio station here in Orlando, 100.7 FM, and they may have a family member, a loved one that they're struggling with. They're kind of mad at. They're saying, I wish he'd get his act together. I wish she'd stop. I wish she would think more about her kids. And blah blah blah. Can you speak to them a little bit about? A lot of times you always say you got to love them where they're at and stuff like that. So can you speak?
Yeah. You don't have to tolerate the behavior and everything, and I understand, but being mad at them, but you got to learn to love them through that process, because they need people to love them through. If it wasn't for people loving me through the process, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Believe me, I'm not just sitting here and I'm a saint now, and people think that. No, my life was in turmoil. I was in places that you could never imagine. I was shooting dope, smoking crack. My wife, Tracy, was banging on doors, pulling me out of places. My friend Ron Doc was pulling me out of places and coming to get me. And these are people that were in recovery, and they knew that they needed to love me until I can love myself. And I'm grateful for that. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that, I know we make people sick, but we're very sick too when we're in the midst of addiction. And, there's the only hope is people that have the experience, that have been through this, that have walked through this, helping another addict, alcoholic, get into a place where they could be successful and sustain themselves in recovery. That's the importance of it. It's people helping people. Don't ever forget we're people, and people have issues, and people are hurting, people are broken. We don't know what happens to people. People think, well, everybody comes from a good situation. Let me tell people, stop. There's no white picket fence. There ain't no folks living behind a white picket fence and have it all together. We've been saying this for many years. Well, they family have it all together because they suburban people. Suburban kids are ODing and dying like crazy. And everybody think they have it all together because they have money. Money does not fix the situation. It helps to get them to places to get help, but it does not fix the situation. It takes people help people get well.
That's all great messages. Trinity, do you have anything? We're running down on some minutes, Trinity, and I want to make sure that you get some time to maybe ask a question or two that you had in your head.
No, just more of a statement, man. I just, I always say this every time, and it's because I'm reminded every time we hang out with him and see him. My knowledge of him as a player, or of you as a player, I'll talk to you.
I was going to say, he's right here.
Yeah. I remember, you stopped playing in '99. That's when I graduated. So, I mean, I was familiar with who you were. I wasn't like terribly into baseball enough to where I knew like the major names, and you were one of the names I knew. I also remember the fall from grace. Like I remember the troubled times and stuff. I remember hearing all that. And so, if I'm honest, I have my own opinions of who you were, to an extent, right? I give everybody a certain amount of grace if I don't know them, but I couldn't help but to hear everything, that the good and the bad. And so when we met you, I didn't really know what to think. I met you. It was cool. You came into a golf tournament. At first, I didn't know what to expect, and I was just like, okay, he's here. But over the years, man, like you really are about it. Like I can't be any more impressed with somebody who really is walking a walk. Because as he said, you have every opportunity, even now, as many years as later as it is. I guarantee you, there's offers out there for you to go talk baseball somewhere, to go out there and get in the booth and completely ignore and just go out and make money. Go out, make money, get your fame back, and get back on top. But you'd rather help like save lives, and that right there is truly honorable, man. It really, really, really is. I am very grateful to have met you. I'm very grateful to know you. I love the turnaround. I love the story, and to see where it's ending now. Like if that doesn't inspire hope in somebody out there right now that you can turn things around, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you know what? I just thought, we meet a lot of people in this life and on this journey, and I know, because I got a discerning spirit about people, and I just knew you guys had the heart, and knew you guys were real about what you were talking about. Because a lot of people are talking about it and they're in it for one thing, but if we're not in it to help, then we don't need to be in it. I mean, I know we all got to make a living. I do too, and what I do, right. But at some point, we got to be in this world. We got to say, you know what, we need to help people. Because if it's not for like people like us that stand up to help, and you guys do a great job with that, and Louis, you do a great job with all gathering all the people together that have treatment centers and get them to understand. Giving a bed is giving a bed. That's you're saving a life. You may save a life. It ain't gonna. I know you got a business to run and everything, but you always point people that I need you guys to be able to see this side of it too. That we need to be able to scholarship somebody sometime, and we need to be able to help people at times too. Of course, you got to run a business and operate. And we understand that. We get all that, but at the same time, we need to. If we're gonna talk about it, we need to be about it.
I love that, man. Thank you so very much for that. And by the way, I wouldn't fault you at all if you go chase some of that money. You get that money while you can, son.
I've been there. Listen, I've been there and done that. Okay, and I know we need to live and eat, but I tell you what, God does not shorten my life in any way for doing His work.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So I'm grateful for the grace that's been extended to me. When you understand the grace, and I tell people all the time, what is this about me? It's the grace that none of us deserve, but He gives it to us anyway. So guess what? I need to go back and give somebody else that grace because it was extended to me.
And I love you every day for it, man. And again, I can't thank you enough for who you are to me personally and who you are to us. I mean, anyone that doesn't know, I mean, when I was about a year and a half ago, when I was about to go through surgery, it was a prayer that Darryl, when you did that prayer for me right before going into surgery, I can't tell you. I mean, I was just crying like a baby, man. And that's not me today. So that was good to feel. I felt it, and I felt the love, and I felt the compassion, and I needed it more than I knew that I needed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew enough to ask you. I knew enough to talk to you about it, and I knew enough to receive it. And I think that's one of the important things about recovery people and help people. You got to maximize when you're in that little opening, because we're like a roulette wheel. We got one number, and then when it lands on that number, you got to maximize that moment when you want it, and you better get the right people on the phone when you want it, and tell them, I need it right now. I need it, but you better come get me right now. You better help me right now, because in 5 minutes from now, I'm going to say I don't need it anymore.
Right.
You know, and that's the problem with diseases like this, with illnesses like this, is that you gotta strike in a moment's notice, and if you don't, then you gotta wait around for more destruction to happen before you can strike again, and that's a hard thing. But when he says love them where they're at, that's what he's talking about. He's talking you gotta be loving and compassionate, because when that moment happens, if you're so busy being angry and frustrated with them, when that moment comes, you're not gonna believe them. You're not going to take them at their word, and therefore you're not going to pick them up. You're not going to hold them up. And then and that could have been that moment. That was that moment. You know, we fail a lot.
And I think one thing, and I think one thing too, there's a lot of people you got to take advantage of the people that are real, you know, and that are real, that are right there, you know, in the midst of the trenches with you. You know, if they're there with you, those are the people that you want to take advantage of those situations when they're trying to help you, because they're truly trying to help you.
Yep, I'm into that. Now before we leave, look, one last thing from Marissa. You know, Marissa came to the golf tournament last year. She put this on Facebook Live. She'll be here again, by the way. Look, she put, at airport for Arizona, they made an announcement that all Mets fans are VIP and all Yankee fans take your hats off at the airport. LOL. She says she thought Darryl was here. That's funny.
Oh my!
Maybe he was. I mean, I've been in the airport where you walked right by me and it was like, "Whoa, Darryl, what's up, man?" You know, we cross paths all the time. You know, we're both Delta guys, so we cross paths. You know,
Trinity, glad you're doing well too, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you need to do one of them private prayer sessions with Trinity on off the air, so you can get that, Trinity. I'm telling you, man, it's powerful, man. It's powerful, Trinity.
I bet.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So Darryl, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call you after this real quick for a few minutes. I got to talk to you about some tournament stuff.
Okay.
I'll just take a few minutes of your time. But as far as for the show here on 1680 AM, right here, WOKB 1680 and at 100.7 FM. Trinity, any last words that you got to say before we sign off?
Now that you know better, do better.
Darryl, any last words you want to say to the people here in Orlando, Central Florida, anybody watching this on YouTube or otherwise?
Don't give up. Don't quit. The miracle is waiting for you.
All right. Amen. And thank you all, Darryl. Thank you, Dharma Guy, and all of you listening and following us today. Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Take it away, Shaw. Bye.
Peace.